Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories. Welcome back, everybody. Today I am here with Debbie Adams with Adams Company located in Austin, Texas. Super excited to have Debbie on. I've known Debbie for many years now. She's probably one of the most decorated, award-winning remodelers that I've ever met. I'm so excited. Debbie, welcome to Builder Stories.
Thanks, Eric. Always good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you as well. So, as usual, why don't you start off, kind of just tell us a little bit more about who you are. You know, what is Adams Company? How did you start it? How did you get into construction? You know, what do you guys focus on? Kind of all the usual background there.
So Adams Company, we're an interior, mostly residential remodeling company here in Austin, Texas. We do more kitchens and bathrooms than anything. We work inside the existing envelope of a house. I don't do additions by choice. We're very selective with the clients that we choose to work with and the type of work that we do. I started back in, I think it was 87. I was working vacation Bible school, volunteering at my church with a woman, and I was telling her how I needed a new job. I was waiting tables out at a restaurant on Lake Travis, and the summer was coming to a close. She says, you should really call my husband because he really needs a secretary. So I called him up, and he said, well, let's try it for a week. And I spent 12 years with him. He was a high-end custom home builder. His signature was in the trim details of the multi-million-dollar houses that we built. And not all of them were that expensive, but that's where I started. I ran his office. So this was before computers. This was before cell phones. I had to learn how to do the books by hand, manually, with the littered ledger sheets. And when clients build a true custom home, there's a lot of decisions that go into that. From the, smallest details of what type of wall texture to all the, fixtures and finishes. So I kept track of all that. I did all the banking information, wrote up the contracts. I was the person on the phone, the initial contact with people. And so I ran his office for 10 years, and then our superintendent left. So it was a natural progression for me to go out into the field. I was already scheduling subs and ordering materials. So Ray would take the project from foundation to drywall, and I would finish the house from trim to completion. And he taught me everything I know about construction. And then we had a difference of opinion, and I chose to leave. And I didn't work for a few months, and then another builder called me up, and I went to work for him, and I ran his office and was out in the field as well. And he was a great guy, but the quality of the work just wasn't what I was used to. Then I went to work for another high-end custom home builder, and the quality, his was really good. He was just not a nice person to work for. That was the hardest year of my life, really. Then I went to work for a husband and wife team, and I ran their remodels. We worked out of their house. So it was a different environment, right? The dynamics of working for a husband and wife in their house.
Yeah.
And I spent 5 years with them. And then I needed a break. And I went to work for a friend of mine who offered me a job selling building materials. And I knew that wasn't going to last, but it gave me the break that I needed. And then I met a wonderful man who was a builder, at a live music event. Austin, Texas is the live music capital of the world. And it was across town, and he picked me up on his Honda Valkyrie motorcycle. He passed me up, asked me where the place was. I says, well, just follow the road. You'll wind up there. And he's like, well, if you're going, do you need a ride? And so we met by chance, and, one thing led to another, and we got involved, and he was a builder, and he was what I would call a chuck in a truck. He did all the work himself. He would bring in a plumber or an electrician, But he did all the framing, the drywall, the paint, the tile. He did everything else. And you could only do one job at a time. I was used to running multiple jobs and hiring subs. So I'm like, let me show you how you can make more money and not work so hard. So we worked together for 5 years. And if I hadn't had that experience of working for Joel and Lucy Katz, of a husband and wife working together out of their home, I don't think I could have been in a relationship with Pat and worked with him too. We kept our separate houses, so we had our own space, but we ate 3 meals a day together. You know, he was on the jobs and I was running the office, and it just worked. And then I lost Pat to colon cancer in 2012, unexpectedly. He was never sick. His first chemotherapy treatment was what wound up taking him, and it was unexpected. We were right in the middle of a job. It was a whole house remodeled, and so I took a couple of weeks off. They gave me a couple of weeks, and we had their house all torn apart. And, you know, when people die, it does strange things to other people. And so his family shut down the business, shut down the website. I called an attorney and I explained the situation. And I thought what I needed to do was to write a contract to cancel the contract I had with these people and refund them the money that I had in the bank account, and then sign a 1 page that I would continue working with them and finish their job if they were interested, and they were. And so that's what was happened. And then it's like, okay, now what do? I finished this job, right? And because I had been involved in the Home Builders Association when I first went to work with that first builder, my phone kept ringing from other builders literally handing me remodels that they were too busy with new construction to take on. So that's what kind of started me going. I went to lunch with a client, and she drew my logo on a napkin, on the back of a Schlotsky's napkin. And I figured Adams Company, you know, that was pretty generic. I could stay in the business, or I could go back to, I used to be a professional organizer. I could start that back up. But the phone kept ringing, and my first year, I was really busy. I did 38 projects by myself. Every aspect of it. I was wearing too many hats. But I was just, you know, kind of floundering, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I was taking on anything that came my way. So I did that for about a year, a little bit longer, and then I hired a bookkeeper. I thought, well, that's one thing I can take off my plate. Let somebody pay the bills, then do the receivables. And so that was working out good, but I was still working too many hours. And so I hired a project manager, a woman project manager. I met her at a home builders event, and another electrician introduced us. And so I talked with her, and she'd had experience. And so that got me my first project manager, but I was still working out of my house. And that did not work well for me because I never shut it down.
Yeah.
There's always more work to do than you have time. So, my next step was to get an office, and that changed a lot for me. You know, and then I could have a life again, a separated business from personal life. In 2015, I did a job, and the NARI rep was after me to join NARI. And so she talked me into joining the National Association of Remodeling Industry, and I put this house on their tour of homes. It was a unique house. It had a yellow range. The range was painted in a Ferrari factory. So he could have had a matching Ferrari that matched his range, but we built this beautiful custom kitchen, and he wasn't really a cook. I think it was one of those that if you build it, they will come. I think he was trying to bait a woman for his life. I don't think that's happened yet, but needless to say, the house came out really great. And because it had this yellow range, and he had a hard time figuring out what he wanted to do for his backsplash. So we wound up putting fabric on hardboard and putting plexiglass in front of it on stanchions that could be removed if he ever wanted to change it. And that home, we had 700 people come through in 2 days. I was talked out. It won me the best kitchen in Austin at the NARI Awards that year. Then it won a regional award, and then it won a national award. And that changed everything for me. My phone was ringing. I had architects wanting to do business with me. I had vendors wanting to have their products in my projects. Yes, and joining NARI was very instrumental in my career. And that's really the only advertising I still do to this day. We do the annual NARI home tour this year. It's coming up the first weekend in September. It's a great way to expose yourself to the public. They get to come in and see the quality of the work that you do. They get to talk to you one-on-one. And so I highly recommend for newbies, if you have a NARI chapter in your area, it's well worth the investment. So now I have an office. I've got 4 employees. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all women. I'm a woman-owned, woman-ran business. I think women pay better attention to the details. And in this industry, it's really about the details. You know, you got to be thinking way ahead how that tile's going to line out, you know, when you're first doing the framing. So it's a fun business. There's a lot of moving parts. You know, it's kind of like putting a puzzle together. Everything's got to fit just right.
And that's an incredible story, Debbie. You know, just hearing kind of the backstory. You know, I think you shared bits and pieces with it, but just hearing the whole thing, I mean, what an incredible, you know, entrepreneurial journey for you to start off, you know, it has a secretary and then running the office and then running the field and then getting out there. You know, sorry to hear about, was it Joel? Was that his name?
Pat.
Sorry to hear about Pat. You know, I think you're absolutely right. Losing people, especially just unexpectedly, can really, you know, just, I mean, it could just be devastating and a certain, you know, blow to you. I mean, I'm glad to see that you were able to keep yourself together, pick it up, and, you know, again, it sounds like that, you know, opportunity that you saw there, and you seized the opportunity to start, you know, Adam's company, and I'm so proud of you for doing that, you know, and to see how many awards and how you have just been able to become this, you know, industry leader, you know, where people are just looking at your work every year and they're admiring how you're doing things. I mean, that's just such a great, you know, just kudos to you for building an awesome company and having that, you know, I 100% agree that attention to detail and that design eye is so valuable, that, you know, obviously it's served you well. And, you know, I'm curious, so for people who, you know, they don't, you know, they don't know if they have a NARI chapter, I mean, how can they learn more about those? And are there other, you know, local home tours, you know, or just other, you know, associations that you recommend that they might want to look into or try to find in their area? Because, I mean, it sounds like that was like just a huge catalyst for you.
Yeah, it certainly was. You know, you'd probably have to be in a larger city to have a home builders association. And they would just have to get online and check out NARI and see if there's something close to them. You know, we participate every year in entering awards, and I think we're up to, I don't know, 44 or 48 awards.
Yeah, I remember walking into your office, and it's just the walls are lined with them. I mean, it's an incredible experience, so, you know, to see that. So,
and so I think too that's helps having an office, because I bring clients in and they can see, you know, that we're a for real company. We're not a fly by night. We're not going to be gone tomorrow. And for them to see the awards and all the magazine articles that have been written about us, you know, people want to have an award-winning builder.
Yeah.
You know, when we started the house that's going to be on this year's tour, she knew right before we even started that she wanted to have her house on the next tour. You know, people take a lot of pride in that.
That's awesome. And I love also how, you know, it sounds like you really have done a great job, like, networking with the builders, and, you know, early on for them to, you know, basically pass you, you know, the jobs that, you know, just wasn't in their wheelhouse, the remodels, maybe a smaller projects. I mean, again, that is a great way to work with others in your community. You know, I think a lot of times people might see others as competition, but, you know, again, everybody is well suited for their strengths. You know, and so maybe there's an opportunity for others out there to kind of go and try to, you know, meet the other builders in the area, you know, the other remodelers. Like, not everything may be in their wheelhouse, and by establishing that relationship, it's a great way to win some more jobs that you might not have expected to come your way.
Absolutely. You know, to me, it's all about relationships. It's with the clients, with your subs, with your vendors. I was fortunate when I went to work for Ray back in '87. He was involved in the Home Builders Association, and they created a custom builder council. And they shared information. And because I was his secretary, I was also that secretary. So I would go to those meetings and take notes. And that's how I got to know all those builders. And then I took some classes through the HBA and got some certifications. And so all these builders watched me grow, and they knew my credentials. And, and even today, we'll get calls from our electrician or our plumber. Hey, I was talking to this person and they needed a contractor, and I gave them your name. And, it's all about, and we often, if we get leads that are outside of the area that we work in, or it's an addition that we don't do additions, then I've got a list of other contractors that I can refer them to, because I don't want to just turn somebody down because it's not what I want to be doing. I want to pass them on to somebody I know and trust. So get to know your subs and your vendors,
One thing I've also just ever since I heard the story, and I'm curious if you're willing to share it. You've done a great job branding Adam's company with the penguin.
Yeah.
And every time I see the logo, I see your website. You've got this iconic penguin. So maybe you can share us that story as well.
Sure. So, I grew up with cats, and my mom had a cat, and she was devastated when she had to put it down. One night I came home from work, and I had 17 feral cats on my patio. It was like they were having a party. And so the city of Austin has a program, Trap and Neuter and Return, TNR. So they will pay to have these cats neutered and treat them for ear mites or whatever, as long as you'd have to take them home and continue feeding them, or take them to wherever you found them. So I had no problem with that. And so I trapped every one of them except one dropped 2 kittens on my back porch before I got her fixed. And so these kittens got to be about 8 weeks old when it was my mom's birthday. And so I was so excited to take care of these 2 kittens. One was black and one was white. And I showed my mom, it's like, look what I brought you for your birthday. And she looked at those cats and looked at me and said, I would rather have a penguin than those cats. You can just take them home with you. She obviously was not ready to be healed. That hurt in her. And I already had 3 cats. I did not need 2 more. So I sent her a penguin. Every chance I got. Every holiday, if it was Flag Day, every time I came to visit, and I'd say, Mom, this can stop anytime you want. I still have those cats. And she said, you just keep sending me penguins. Lets me know you love me. And I'd walk in the door, and my dad would say, one of these days, all these penguins are going to be going to Austin. I said, that's fine as long as my mom's alive. And so whenever I would travel, I would always look for penguins. Happy Feet came out. And so there were always plenty of penguins, stuffed ones or little ceramic ones. So when Pat passed away and I had this lunch date with my client, she just drew the A as a penguin. And I loved it, and clients, when they see penguins, they think of me, and they'll send me a picture of them in a penguin. And it's a hard habit to break. I was just whenever I travel, I'm still looking for penguins.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So I have when my mom passed away, she had over 500 penguins.
Wow.
Yeah.
500. So they all now, I assume, reside in Austin with you?
They all do. They all do. I've tried to give some of them away. One year I came home and she had bought a white flocked Christmas tree, and she put all the stuffed penguins on that tree for decoration. It was so cute.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm kind of known about the penguin.
So, thinking back, from the beginning, obviously you started this really from scratch, had to build up. It sounds like you've really relied on subcontractors, trade partners. Tell us what's that been like, and how did you find that initial group of trades to help you, to manage these jobs, and I'm sure as everyone, there's always a debate. Well, do I hire employees or do I leverage subcontractors? Have you had any sort of thoughts on that? Kind of what experiences have you had, and what challenges have you had as well, leveraging all the subs?
Well, and it is a challenge. And so my employees, I have 2 project managers, and then I have an in-house designer, and then I have office administrator. When you self-perform labor, you got to keep enough work to keep everybody busy. Otherwise, you're spending money and not making money. So I have always worked as subbing out all of my work. And it's hard to find good subs. And the good ones are, they're busy. But I started out, I would see a car driving down the road with a sign on it, and I would take a picture of it, and I'd call them up. My first painter I found that way. And, I still use them, you call around on references. I'll have other contractors call me, who are you using for plumber? I'm sorry, I'm not going to share that information, because I don't want him to be too busy and he's not available for me.
Yep.
It's hard, but that's how my business model is. Some people are very successful at having lead carpenters and apprentices, and they do all of the work. So that's just something every individual has to figure out what works best for them. But it's really about the relationships,
Yeah. So when did you decide to hire a full-time designer in-house?
Because I was having trouble getting my plans done, because they were a subcontractor, a 1099 subcontractor. And so they're drawing for, I don't know how many different builders, and what's going to make my project a priority. I can't get to a contract if I can't get plans and selections made. So that's been a big plus. And we use Cheap Architect, that is the software that we use for drawing. And I love it because it shows the clients in 3D what it could look like. And that's part of our sales presentation. And I use JobTread in my sales presentation, and I'm still learning how to do it digitally versus I'm a paper person. So I have a little binder, a happy homeowner binder, and I show them the proposal and what it looks like and the schedule and the photos. And so I'm working on developing that so I can do it on my iPad. I'm just old school and still technology challenged, but I'm working on it. I'm going to get there. And eventually my designer is going to be able to do that, and I won't need to be going out there. She can do the whole presentation. Here's how we do the plans. And, JobTread has been instrumental for us. It's made our life so much easier. It's a little learning curve, especially for me. But fortunately, most of my employees are much younger, and they grasp this technology a lot faster.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about what is your sales process? Are you charging for the design? Are you just doing that up front? What is are you doing a call and then going out on site? How are you building that relationship, and what does it look like to go from new lead all the way through to a customer?
So when the leads come in now, it's nice because it comes in through our website and automatically uploads into JobTread. And I love that. And we request people to send us photos of what their house, the rooms, the areas that they want to remodel, what they look like now. And if they have any idea photos of what they want it to look like. And a lot of them do. They have Pinterest boards or whatever. So we ask them to send that to us. And then in our weekly staff meeting, we talk about this. Is this a good fit for us? Is this something that we want to pursue? Is it within the geographical area that we work? Because the traffic has gotten so bad in Austin that, it's hard to get to certain parts of town. And I require my project managers to be on site twice a day, in the morning and in the afternoon. So we take a lot of things into consideration. Is it the type of project that we want? Are they the type of clients that we wanted? Is it going to be a fun project? We wind up turning away more work than we take on. We're pretty selective, and it's nice to be in that position. You have to vet them as much as they're vetting you. I had a call today from a woman. She wanted to change her dining room into a bedroom, which basically means you're adding a closet. So that's a pretty small job. It was in the right area, but I started asking her these questions and trying to direct her to our website to upload these photos. And she's like, oh, that's too much trouble. Never mind. And it's like, well, this is not the type of client we want either. She says, it's too much trouble. Well, it is a lot of trouble. remodels are a lot of trouble. There's a lot that goes into it. If she thinks that she can get somebody in there just to frame up walls and hang sheetrock and tape and float and texture, it's not that easy. There's a lot that goes with it. And we try to explain that to people at our initial calls, that things have gotten very expensive since COVID, and they keep continuing to get expensive. And when you go to the grocery store and you see that, and so I'm losing my train of thought about where I was headed down that direction, about trying to educate people that, we just did a refresh in the kitchen. Well, why is it so expensive? Well, it's not just what they see. It's not that we're just painting the cabinets and changing hardware. There's more involved. There's the protection that has to go down. There's the insurance that we pay. There's the project management that we pay. There's a lot more than what people see, and they just don't realize that. And it just adds to the cost.
So you're doing a lot of education kind of in the sales process.
Absolutely.
And then at some point, though, you say, hey, well, or again, kind of back to the design, is that something that you're charging for?
Yep.
Or, yeah.
So we go through our presentation and I show them, it's like, so we help you with the design. We help you make all of the selections. Once we have final plans and final selections, we do a trade walkthrough. We bring all of our trades through, usually on a lunch hour, so that they can pull off of where they're working, to come see what the situation looks like to begin with. And we give them the plans and the specifications so they can give us a bid and tell us how many days it's going to take. And then we enter all of that into JobTread, and we spell out all of the details, and we create the budget, and we create the timeline, the calendar. And we show this to the client. This is what we help you do, and we're going to charge you to do that. We're going to charge you for the design, and it depends on, is it a bathroom or a kitchen, or is it a whole house? So that's going to affect the cost. They're going to pay us to give them a proposal. Now, if they choose to move forward with us, we will credit that deposit on the first draw. Not for the plans. They have paid for the plans. Those plans are theirs. If they choose not to work with us, they can have those plans and get somebody else to bid it.
Sure.
That typically doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Once they've signed and given us money, they're pretty committed to continuing on with us. Now, what's happened a lot lately is it's coming in over budget. So we either have to find ways to cut out the scope of work or to change their selections, because when we first meet them, we don't know what their tastes are like. We don't know if they want a $3 a square foot tile or a $33 a square foot tile, And so it's hard for me to tell them what it's going to cost until we have all this information, all these selections. And I try to explain that to them that, for instance, a toilet. A plumber's going to charge me more to install a one-piece toilet than a two-piece toilet. So this is why I need for you to select the actual toilet you're going to have so that I have accurate bids.
Yeah.
So that I don't have to come back to you and say, oh, we're going to have a change order here. So it's a lot about educating the client, because they don't know what goes all into doing a remodel. Now, inconvenience it is. We try to set them up with another kitchen if we're redoing the kitchen, so that their life isn't as disruptive. We actually have an RV, and we can pull it on site, and they can use that kitchen. We had a client that slept there because she was out of the house. So we try to accommodate them. It's really inconvenient to do a remodel. It's very disruptive. If they've got children, if they got animals, all those things have to be taken into consideration, and to keep their house clean so that they can still live there.
So you actually provide an RV for your client. I mean, that is the first time I've ever heard of anyone doing that, Debbie. That's pretty incredible. That is great service, if you ask me.
Right? Yeah. If they need it. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's awesome. So how long would you say kind of these different phases are taking? I mean, how long are you spending sort of in the pre-design, kind of the education phase, versus then you get into the design? How long does that take? And then ultimately to get to construction?
It kind of depends on the client and if they're good at making decisions and what their availability is. We've got one client we've been working with over a year because life just gets in the way. They're both very busy working. They've got kids graduating and going off to college. And so every job is different, so we're trying to set up a design timeline, because the designer's pretty quick.
Yeah.
But then, are you available to go shopping with her, or does she need to bring you samples? We have a design studio next to us now that we've installed in the office space next to us, and we can have meetings there. So it just depends on how motivated the clients are, how soon they want to get things done, or, yeah.
Is that design studio, is that part of Adam's company, or is that another company?
We've installed some cabinets, some pre-finished cabinets and some countertops, and so we've got those things for them to look at so that they don't have to go out to all of these different showrooms. And we're happy to take them to the showrooms too. Again, we're trying to accommodate them and their lifestyle and how busy they are. So sometimes it's just easier for them to come here.
I meet a lot of people kind of debating if they want to expand their office, or if they want to, to lease, some space to do the showroom. I mean, how has that impacted your business?
I think it's been very beneficial. Again, because it's just overwhelming for them to go to a tile store. There's just so much to choose from, whereas you only have so many options. It's a lot easier. And some of the remodelers that I know, they have different vignettes, and this is a good, a better, and a best. And they can show them the different price points of something like this is going to cost you this much. And, I don't have that much space. So we just have the basics, this one cabinet line. And there's a cabinet company right down the road that we can always take them to. And they've got several different lines of cabinets. And
nice. But
it's a good place for us to start from.
Yeah.
I don't typically do a lot of the high dollar stuff. I prefer to do the medium income people. A lot of my clients are retired, empty nesters. It's amazing that there's some of these young clients that I don't know where they get their money from, but they can do big remodels,
No.
And it's just they have different tastes, and
How many jobs are you managing at one time?
We typically have 4 to 8 going at any one time.
Okay.
We'll do 20 to 30 in the course of a year, in different stages. Bathrooms take a lot shorter time. Kitchens take about double the time of a bathroom, and whole houses can take months.
Yeah.
But we run a pretty tight ship, and with the job trade schedule, it makes it a lot easier to keep on track. The girls love that aspect,
How far out are you booking now?
Right now we've got openings probably in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the biggest challenge to building this business and to scaling it to the point where you're able to run, this many jobs and, kind of keep things moving? I mean, really, just sounds like there's, 4 or 5, I guess with you, 5, full-time people. I mean, that's not a huge team, to be running that many jobs and keeping things going. And then, you're also got all the leads and dealing with that, and kind of you got, people in different, stages. I mean, what do you think's been the hardest part about building this business?
I think for me personally, it's training my team and making sure they've got all the information they need for them to be successful.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much that goes on the jobs. It's having processes in place and making sure that everybody's following the processes. Because then it can just be like a well-oiled machine. Everybody knows what's next. But the interesting thing in construction is things change all the time, almost on a daily basis. You may have that perfect schedule lined out, and then a wrench gets thrown in,
Yep.
And so you have to adjust, and it's challenging, and that's probably the fun part of it too. New construction, anybody can build off of plans, but on remodels, you don't know what you're getting into until you open up that wall, and there's always something. So you got to plan that in your budget. But, have a contingency fund for the unknowns, because they're out there on every job.
So are you selling your jobs fixed price, or are you doing cost plus?
Everything is fixed price.
Fixed price.
Yeah.
And how do you protect yourself against the unknown, against the material, price increases and things like that?
So there's a contingency allowance
Okay.
for the client, right? Because we obviously can't bid something that we can't see to know to bid. And then there's a contingency line item in the budget that's ours for if we miss something, or, if something gets damaged and we have to replace it or lost, or, because that kind of stuff happens all the time too, and I don't know how people who do cost plus deal with that aspect. How's the client going to feel that, something got scratched and it's got to get replaced and they're going to pay for it? They're not going to want to do that.
Yeah.
And so anything they choose is an allowance item. We still get bids on them, but it allows for the fluctuation. If they change their mind on a light fixture, a tile, or whatever, they're going to pay us for any overages on the allowances.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's where, the change orders, they can still happen, but it's client driven, I guess, changes.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes inspection driven, inspectors require things. And again, that's something that's out of our control, so it's that. I know there's people out there that do cost plus, and I think that's just a lot more paperwork to have to, let people to see the numbers that they're spending. So it's just easier, I think, for everybody to do fixed price. And we tend to make more money that way.
I typically see kind of when you start to get into the much larger jobs, then it might be easier for those builders to basically say, look, we're going to open up the books to you to kind of help people feel comfortable when they're spending, millions of dollars.
Right.
But I hear all the time, cost plus builders just, it's so much more work to do that. And then every little expense can basically blow up. And, it's just a can of worms that gets opened up. So I see a lot of people who are doing that are trying to move more towards the fixed price, sort of working their way down to that. But, again, kind of two different styles. It's whatever works best for you, and however your clientele, if you can get away with the fixed price, and that's, again, it sounds like you're doing a really good job, though, of trying to flush out all of the details, and then you're leveraging contingencies. For both you and the customer, that is very, strategic to kind of help sort of alleviate that, hey, like if we get into this and we miss something, well, that's on us, but, that's why we're baking in, this contingency. I think that's a really smart way to handle it.
Thanks. I'm really proud of my project managers. They really are strong on their budget, because they create the budgets in JobTread. And these girls, they know exactly, oh, yeah, I took that door out and we put this in, and, and they want to stay on budget. They don't want to be over budget. They're watching the invoices as they come in from the trades and approving those. And, JobTread has helped me out tremendously in that aspect of, and the best part is they know that job inside and out because they created that budget. They know how many windows and how many exhaust fans, and
That's
so
great.
yeah,
sounds like you really, everyone sounds like has a very good handle on the numbers, and they understand the insides of what is going into every single job. And I think having that kind of that full transparency with the team, I definitely see a lot of contractors who kind of the owners sort of don't feel fully comfortable sharing the entire budget, and you got the cost, you got the price, you got the profit. Is that something that everyone on your team has seen, all of that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Because they're building the budgets.
Yeah.
Yep.
And do you have like incentives around coming in on budget, or is this just kind of like this is our goal is to achieve this this target profit for every budget?
We have talked about that a lot, and I can see that being a good incentive for them. I haven't instigated it yet because you have to kind of figure out, well, how do you pay that out?
Yeah.
Because you might make money on one job and lose money on another. And what's left in the profit goes for the operating expenses.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to figure out how to reward for a good job.
Sure.
It probably needs to be done on a quarterly basis. But yeah, we have certainly breached that subject a lot.
Yeah. So, when you think about jobs where, you may not have performed as well as you'd hoped, I mean, are there any sort of, commonalities or trends or things that you see that on all of those jobs that just didn't hit where you wanted them to? Like, was there something that was happening? Like, did you miss something? Was it, again, some random wrench, got thrown in the mix, or, anything like that you can sort of point to that?
Well, at the end of the jobs, we do a job debrief, and we look at that. We look at what went right, what didn't go well. Did we stay on budget? Did we stay on schedule? How could we improve? What mistakes can we learn from? This happened on another job, so let's not let it happen on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a daily learning. It's like we do things this way, and we're in the process of coming up with Adam standards, so that everybody knows that this is what's expected and this is how it's to be done. And, I'm a real pet peeve for things on the floor. We're in people's homes for however long, and if they're living there, it's crucial to me that we keep their house clean. And, you're going to have construction dust, so we put plastic up, but things shouldn't be on the floor. When they come home at the end of the day, their house needs to be acceptable for them to be walking around and not tracking dust through the house. And, and it's just, and so my project managers, I tell them, if you can't get your trades to clean up after themselves at the end of each day, then you get to do it. Because at the end of each day, the house needs to be cleaned. And so it's a matter of just training people, and some of the subs are better than others. It
comes back to that attention to detail, though, that I can tell you very much have that meticulous, every little, detail matters. And that's such a great mindset to have.
Well, and so in job tread, we spell out all of the details, of demolition, what we're removing and what are we going back with. And, and that's what they're agreeing to when they sign off on that. And so everybody knows that the trades know it, they see it, the homeowners see it. So if something is an extra, it's obvious because it's not spelled out in job trade. If it's not included, then we didn't anticipate it. So we can do it. It's just going to be a change order, And so it's all black and white.
And how do you manage your subs in terms of, their payments? I mean, are you paying, weekly, every other week? Do you pay, on completion? Like, how do you deal with that?
Different trades are different. The plumbers and electricians, HVAC, they will submit their invoice and they're usually net 30. My demo, my framer, my painter, my tile guy, they get paid weekly. So in turn, we bill our clients on a weekly basis. And so rather than how job tread has a percentage on each budget item, because they don't see that budget. They just see the bottom line and their allowances. So when we sign a contract, I get a material deposit. So I'll go through the budget and I'll add up all of the monies we're going to need to order whatever materials, whatever deposits we need.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to pay me that when we sign the contract. The last payment is 10% of the total contract. So I take the difference and I divide it by how many weeks we're going to be in their house.
Nice.
And I submit an invoice to them every week and they pay me every week so that I can then pay my trades on a weekly basis.
That's great. I love it. I hear a lot of times homeowners aren't always comfortable paying for the labor up front, but they understand that you got to put out the cash to pay for the material. So I think that makes total sense. And I know with job trade, we make it easy where you can just see all the material, put that on that initial deposit. That's a great strategy. I love that.
Yep. Well, and it helps with the cash flow,
Yeah.
And then they're not so focused on how much are we paying. It's like every week you're going to give me $5,000 or whatever that amount is, and so it's not a big deal. They're not questioning, well, the paint didn't get finished this week or, it's not based on milestones in the construction sequence. It's just a weekly draw.
I love it.
it's so much easier.
Yeah, it actually sounds the simplest I've heard. That could be a new best practice I might want to promote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it was at Milestones, it was at the beginning of the phase, because there's no question of whether or not drywall started.
Yeah.
There could be a question whether or not it's 100% complete.
Yeah.
And if it's not 100% complete, they don't want to pay you. But
Yeah.
if you always bill at the beginning of a stage, there's no question. But to me, it's just been easier to it's a weekly draw. We'll give it to you on Thursday. My project manager will pick the check up on Friday.
Love it. You talked earlier about how after every project you do, a review, performance review. Can you tell us a little bit more detail about kind of what are you looking at the end of each project? Who's involved in these meetings? How do you say, this project was a success or this project wasn't? I kind of think just a little bit more insight into what those performance reviews look like, because I see a lot of people they don't take the time to do that, and I think it's so important. And that's where you can really learn, and improve going forward. It's like if you keep making the same mistake over and over and over again, then what's the point? So what do you, how do you structure those reviews?
They're not really that long, and they're getting better at making notes during the process when an issue comes up, so that when we do the review, it's like, oh yeah, remember we had this happen and this delayed us and we had to reorder or whatever. So the project managers are doing a better job of making notes as that's happening, so that when we sit down, it's easier to remember, because, you got multiple jobs going on, it's hard to remember, what went well, what didn't go well. The client's feedback, is really helpful, and the communication is a big key, and for me as a business owner, it's important for my employees to have a work-life balance. So they are not to answer emails after 5. They're not to answer their phone, not to send text messages. And again, it's kind of training the clients, because if you respond, if they text you at 9:00 at night and you respond, well, they're going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
But if you set your limits of, these are our normal business hours, this is when we can be reached. If it's an emergency, please, by all means, reach out.
Yeah.
But you have to train the clients just as well as the subs and the employees. And, you want to call ahead the day before, make sure people are lined up, and, that having checklists, making sure that you have the materials on site for whoever the trade is. So all of that is just in a brief conversation. Let's look at our schedule. Here's our original schedule. Did we get to stick to it? What delayed it? Did we gain ground? Sometimes you gain ground. Were we on budget? Did we how many change orders? We had one kitchen that right off the bat we had to do a change order, and it just, I don't know how many change orders we did on that job, and it's just like,
yeah,
and so you take that opportunity to learn, why did that happen? What can we do different so that doesn't happen again?
What's your involvement in the project? I mean, it sounds like you're very involved in kind of helping sort of facilitate the sale and getting them into the process. But, I hear that it sounds like, really you're empowering your project managers to be out on site, communicating directly with the customer. So, when do you get involved, and do you stay involved, or, kind of how has your involvement sort of in the projects changed?
Well, now that we're using JobTread, it's changed a lot, because I can go on JobTread and I can see their daily job logs. I can see their photos that are uploaded from Company Cam. So I don't have to get out in the jobs as much as I used to. So that's made my life a lot easier, and I can spend more focused on the leads coming in and selling more jobs. I still go out to the jobs maybe on a weekly basis, just, so the clients see that I'm still involved. We're working with a gentleman now that he had called 3 different people out. We were one of the 3. And he's like, the other 2, they just sent salespeople out. But here you are the owner of your business, and you came to meet me at my house to see my needs. I'm doing business with you because you're going to take, personal interest in what I need done. And that's, it's a service industry. And how do you set yourself apart? But giving them good service, communication is so key, and Job Trend helps us with that. The clients, if it is in the middle of the night, they can send something through Job Trend and we'll see it in the morning. Building relationships.
I'm curious to ask you a little bit more about, obviously, woman-owned business, all of your employees are women, which is awesome to see. I really wish there were more, women-owned construction companies, because, at least all the ones that I see on Job Trend, they're phenomenal. It's just like some of the most incredibly run businesses, but like there's not more women-owned business in this, very typical male-dominated industry. How do you think that, you've been impacted, and what, have there been challenges that you think that you've, had to face because you are a woman, or, have subs treated you different, or homeowners, or like, what advantages have you had? I'm just kind of curious to hear your perspective on it, because, I think that there's a lot of opportunity to try to motivate more women to come into the trades and then to start up their own businesses. What would you say on all that?
Absolutely. I think people like dealing with women. We're there to deal with the wife. So some of the hurdle was to get the confidence from the husband that, yes, indeed, I know what I'm doing. So I have certifications through the Home Builders Association, and NARI also offers certifications. So that helps the credibility. I don't use our website as a marketing tool yet. It's more of a portfolio, so that they can see our jobs. Before COVID, we give our prospective clients a list of client references, and we list what type of work we did. And prior to COVID, if they would call, they often would say, well, why didn't you come over and take a look at what she did? And of course, COVID changed all that.
Yeah.
But, I think it's probably easier for a woman in the construction industry. I think the trades are willing to help teach, the project managers if unusual situations. It's like, well, why are you doing it that way? Whereas they may not be as accommodating to a guy to explain why something is happening the way it is or whatever, I think the vendors all cater to women, I'm involved in the workforce development, trying to get more people involved in the construction industry. We're going to be hurting in another decade or two if we don't get more plumbers and electricians coming up through the ranks, because everybody's retiring out. There's plenty of there's actually a Women in Construction through the Home Builders Association. There's one established within NARI. There's Women in Construction conferences now. They're going around the country. They had the first one last year. I didn't make it. I wanted to, but I had too much going on at the time. And I think this year, I forget where it's going to be, but there's all types of great opportunities for women in the construction business. I wish more women would learn how to be a plumber and how to be an electrician, because these guys are making good money. Yeah.
That's great to hear that, again, you feel like it hasn't been a disadvantage for you, and to some extent it's been an advantage.
Yeah.
Hopefully others hearing that will be inspired to, to kind of think about how they might be able to, enter into the industry, because again, it just, I think traditionally it's sort of where, we've landed. But like, I can tell you, like, I have countless like women-owned businesses, and they're some of the most well-run, very, very professional, highest quality work that I've seen. And, we need to encourage everybody to think about that. This doesn't have to be just a male-dominated industry like it is today.
Right. Yeah, sure. We're coming through the ranks. There's going to be more and more of us.
Awesome. Just thinking back, though, about kind of the entire journey that you've had, is there any advice that you could share, to others who are, maybe they're earlier on in their career, they, still maybe got one foot in the tools, one foot trying to start the business? Like, is there anything that you wish you would have known, that now that might have helped you earlier on, when trying to build this business from the ground up?
So I think when I first worked for the first builder, and he was instrumental in starting up the Custom Builder Custom Builder Remodel Council, and they would get together and they would share best practices. I'm also a member of Remodelers Advantage, and we do that as well. You don't need to be afraid that somebody's going to steal your ideas. It's all about helping. The more people you help, the more successful you're going to be. You got to put a hand down to go up. So yeah, reach out. I often get together with other remodelers or prospective remodelers, or I want to help whoever I can in this industry or in any industry. I really want to empower women, though, in the construction industry, and it's a passion I think I have, because it is a fun industry. Every day is different. I can't imagine going to a job and doing the same thing day after day after day.
Yeah.
There's people that do that.
Your reputation definitely precedes you. I have met countless people who definitely know of you, have met with you. You've provided them advice, guidance, whatever it may be, whether in person or even on the phone, meeting you at all the shows. I mean, I think you've really done a great job, networking and trying to, just again, collaborate with everyone out there. I mean, again, a rising tide lifts all boats, and so many people have that, that mindset where it's, oh, that's my competition. I can't talk to them. I can't help them. And it's like, no, I see every day, this other group of builders like, oh, I'm all about it. Let's work together. Like, let's figure out how we can help each other, because as a whole, that's going to help, the industry and the homeowners and everybody feel more comfortable doing these larger projects. And, again, like, contractors can have such a bad rep, when you got just a couple bad apples out there who are unorganized, they show up, they take your deposit, they run, but that's not how, the industry as the whole is operating. I mean, there are bad actors, in every industry and everywhere, but when we see people working together and collaborating, that's how everybody can grow and improve their business. And, again,
absolutely.
I've heard countless stories of how you have helped even just inspire others. And so I hope that this, this podcast and just hearing your story can help, again, continue to facilitate that, because it is what people need to hear, and they need to realize that, construction, it's not easy. Building a construction business certainly is not easy. I mean, or everybody would be doing it.
Right.
But it is fun, and it is, very rewarding. And, I can tell that you've got that passion for what you're doing. And, obviously you wouldn't keep doing it if you didn't enjoy it, and if it wasn't kind of, fulfilling your life's mission and goals. And so, I think that's, just what others need to see is, that, look, you can do this. And, I think that, what you've done is built an incredible business. You've, won countless awards. You've learned how to, get involved with the community, with the home tours. You put a lot of emphasis on, focusing on the details. The details matter. Attention to detail is everything. Being transparent, having good communication. I mean, these are all of the things that can make or break a business. And, you say you might not be the best with technology. I don't know. I think you might be a little hard on yourself here, Debbie. But, at the end of the day, you have built an incredible business, and it's just so inspiring for us, to just be a little fly on the wall, watching you continue project after project to deliver excellence. And, I hope that everybody else out there can also strive for that same high quality, result that you take to every single project and every interaction, because it's working, and you just got to keep doing that and do more of that. And that's what hopefully others will be inspired by hearing the story that you've shared with us today.
Well, I hope so too, Eric. If there's anything I can do for people, feel free to reach out. We're all successful helping
Awesome.
more people out. And we so appreciate JobTread and, all of the things that you have created in that software. It's just, we're not using it at near the capacity we could. So we're striving to use it for more and more.
Well, you have single-handedly made an impact on JobTread. I remember, I don't know, what was it, early, 2020, 2021, something in there. We're sitting in your office, and, you pulled out your big binders and showed us your process, and but hearing that feedback was so helpful for us. And, I tell people all the time, like, it's, everybody is like, oh, I love it, it's great. It's like, okay, that's awesome, but like that doesn't actually help. What helps is when you're like, oh, like I don't understand this, or like if it can do this, or like look at this other system and how it does that. Like you were instrumental very, very early on for us, Debbie, to help us continue to improve, job treading. I mean, I don't believe we'll ever be done. I don't really believe in perfection. It's a constant work in progress, but like, it's just been such an honor and a pleasure to be able to work with you. And, again, whether you say you're tech savvy or not, you know what you're talking about, and I know that. And, I can't let you pull that one on me now 3 or 4 years later, but,
all right.
It's just been very awesome to know you and to watch you continue to build the Adams Company. You've done a great job, and I'm just so thankful and grateful that we can see you and see Adams Company continue to grow and excel.
Thanks, Eric. And we appreciate all that you provided for us to be able to be successful like we are.
It's my pleasure. Thank you again, Debbie, for coming on and for sharing your story.
You bet. Anytime.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. And as always, if you or someone you know has a story to share, please contact us at builderstories.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Fortenberry, and remember, every builder has a unique story. Keep building yours.